Yeah. Evan, you have the bridge.
Hello. Oh, to all the attendees who are now joining, my most profound apologies for the technical difficulties that we've just sorted out here on the mothership.
Yeah.
My name is Evan Bennett. I'm the current president of the Seattle Pacific Northwest Council of FIABCI-USA. I'm also the principal at Anthology Capital. It's a private equity firm that invests in commercial real estate located in Seattle, Portland, and San Francisco. And on behalf of everyone in the Seattle Pacific Northwest Council of FIABCI-USA, welcome. You know, we're really thrilled about being able to bring this presentation to you today. You know, the topic is global advances in PropTech. It's a very timely topic and very fascinating to boot. And, you know, we're just thrilled that we have three, stellar subject matter experts joining us today. So before we get started though, allow me, and I'll go through this very quickly, especially since we've already wasted a few minutes of your time. But there are a lot of people attending the webinar today who are not FIABCI members. So I would just very briefly like to let them know all about FIABCI. And one quick shout out to our sponsors, Anthology Capital, as I mentioned, my company is one. In addition to that, Market Maker, CRE. So this is another company that's owned by one of the members here in our Seattle Council of FIABCI. It's owned by Scott Miller. So Scott is the president of Engagement Solutions. It's a holding company that owns a number of PropTech companies, including Market Maker CRE. And as a matter of fact, Scott should be, unless he got frustrated and decided just threw up his hands and left, he should be here attending this webinar. So if you'd like to connect with Scott, learn more about his companies, please try and find him in the chat box and just exchange information. So FIABCI, the International Real Estate Federation, is a business networking organization that was founded almost 70 years ago in Paris. Its membership includes a broad cross-section of professions associated with both commercial and residential real estate. Now, if it's international, just how extensive is the FIABCI network? So this map illustrates all the countries where FIABCI has members. They're shown here in blue. So FIABCI currently has 48 national and multinational chapters around the world. It's a network of real estate professionals that spans 5 continents and 70 countries. So within the USA chapter of FIABCI, we currently have 11 sub-chapters, which we refer to as councils. So Seattle Pacific Northwest is one such council. Now, this slide expresses the characteristic of FIABCI that appeals most to me. Unlike a lot of industry groups, we don't limit our membership to only one professional discipline. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a broad cross-section of professions. So what our members do have in common is the connection to the real estate industry. So if you're ambitious and you're looking to expand your real estate business globally, for example, let's say that you need the services of an architect in Taiwan, a broker in France, or a real estate lawyer in Brazil. Our membership includes these people. And in addition to that, if you're looking to grow your customer base to include prospects in 70 countries around the world, by joining FIABCI, you'll get access to an international network that opens up that opportunity. And just one other quick comment, about the FIABCI network. It's not just a database. So there's a very insightful and engaging person behind every name in that database. And there are numerous opportunities throughout the year to attend global events where you can meet these people in person to exchange market information, grow business relationships, or just catch up. And for those of you residing in the United States, remember that the local councils of the USA chapter also hold events on a regular basis. Here in Seattle, we typically hold 6 to 8 events a year. And in closing, let me just emphasize that when you join FIABCI, you become a member at the local, national, and international levels. And you'll have opportunities to network with real estate professionals at all three of these levels. So if this is of interest to you, if you'd like to learn more about membership, especially if you reside in the greater Seattle area, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Now, at long last, ladies and gentlemen, this is really an esteemed panel. So, I challenge you, not right now, but a bit later today, go to Google and just do a search using global PropTech influencer, as your the search phrase. And I'm convinced that these three subject matter experts are going to show up near the top of that list. And we're extremely grateful that they were so generous with their time to agree to participate in our webinar, especially given the time differences. So Nikki Greenberg is based in the United States. She's joining us from New York. Antony Slumbers is based in England. And Chungha Cha, who I think maybe got the worst end of the time zone situation, is based in Korea. And I think it's just a little past 6 a.m. there currently.
Oh God.
It's okay, Evan. I'm old, so I get up early anyway.
In all seriousness, thank you so much to each of you for joining us today. So if we were meeting in person, I'd invite the audience to give you a standing ovation. We're just so thrilled that you're here. But since we can't do that, let's just jump right in. So maybe just take a few minutes to introduce yourselves, tell us about your connection to PropTech. And, if you have any passion projects or, just anything of, of particular interest that you'd like to mention, just please go right ahead. Perhaps Nikki, would you like to go first?
It's actually, I will say it's quite fun and exciting for, myself, Sha, and Antony to be on a call together, because we're all quite friendly through the PropTech community. And obviously without being able to do in-person events, we're missing getting to see each other, because this is, prime time for travel. So thank you very much for bringing us all together.
It's our privilege to have you here. Well, try that now, Cha.
Yeah.
Let's see if that works.
All right.
Okay.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. So, all right. Well, obviously, thank you very much for having me here to speak today. And so, Chef, I'll just go next for the next one.
Okay. Let's see.
Sorry, I can't read your menu items over there.
Okay.
Fabulous. So this is me in full height, full length. So, by way of introduction, my name's Nikki Greenberg. I describe myself, or have been described, as a futurist for real estate. And people sometimes wonder why. You can see in the top corner over there, there's a couple of projects that I worked on. So my background's working as an architect. And then when I finished business school, I went into real estate development. So I very much came from the bricks and mortar side of the business. And I like to remind people in the real estate industry that, the decisions that we make today are really going to impact on the developments that we create into the future. And I want you to keep that in mind today while we're talking through some of the concepts around the disruption that's happening today, about what does it mean for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 100 years into the future for all of our projects. I'm a thought leader in the real estate industry. I run another organization called Women in PropTech. If you're a woman and interested in PropTech, look us up. We have some fantastic events going on. If you can flick to the next.
Yeah. Hold it. Okay.
So I suppose this is a key theme that I'm going to keep reflecting back on today as I talk through things. And I absolutely love, love, love this phrase, that changes call for innovation and innovation leads to progress. Right, next. The changes. What are some of the changes we're seeing? Next. So this is 7th Avenue in Manhattan. This is one of the busiest streets you'll find. This photo was taken about a month ago, just looking back at the World Trade Center. And you can see it's completely desolate because of the lockdowns. Next. This is the same intersection about a few weeks ago. So this is the Black Lives Matter protest. So you can see everyone here with a face mask on, trying to separate from each other, socially distant from each other in a safe way. Next. No, this is the same neighborhood. This is, you know, the very famous Bleecker Street, all boarded up because there was looting. So this is what's happening to our ground floor retail. Not a person in sight. Next. And you can see that this shop, they finally were able to open, and this was their facade, really trying to make do. The next. So at the moment, Midtown Manhattan offices are at 4% occupancy, which is alarming, seeing that we're open at the moment. Next. And 43% of restaurateurs said that they won't reopen. It's a problem. And 40% of retailers are expected to file for bankruptcy in the US. This is alarming, guys. The next. So we now, you know, there's big change is here. So, you know, the question is around innovation. So what am I working on? So what I'm working on at the moment is actually an initiative that brings together some of the strongest thought leaders that are in the real estate and innovation space. We have Frank Pisanelli from RXR. We have, you know, we have Rudin, you know, COO there. We have the Chief Innovation Officer at Silverstein, and we have a lot of other strong players from the real estate, innovation, and PropTech space all coming together. From, you know, companies that, you know, RXR, HOK, Airbnb, EY, and of course myself, Real Estate to the Future. So what we're working on now is a series of masterclasses that, you know, that are there to address the pressing needs that we're all facing. You know, we're coming together to talk about the different subject matters that we're all trying to face together. We're talking about the return to work. What are the best practice guidelines? You know, what technologies are out there? You know, what are the actual problems from people that have reopened? What, you know, what's the solutions for Class A assets? It's about bringing together the best of the best. It's about bringing together the innovators, the leaders, the thought leaders, and the best practice that there is. So if you just flick along. So, you know, we launched the website today. It's fresh. You're seeing this before it's even advertised. So if you just go to americanproptech.com, you can find out about some of these initiatives that we're working on. That's about it. Over to you, Shah. And yeah, progress. It's up to all of us to determine. Sorry, I'm like trying to follow my slides all out of whack. But you know, I think that the key thing here really is we just want to use this this magical moment, as disruptive as it is, just to really determine the best for our future, for, you know, for our cities, for our countries, for our industry, and band together. Thank you, Shah, for driving my slides.
Yeah, sorry about that, Nikki. The nicotine on the coffee was kicking in, and my finger was like jittery.
It's all right, I appreciate it.
Over to you, Cha. So perhaps introduce yourself. Tell us, you know, a little bit your connection to PropTech. And
okay, thank you very much, and I'm very happy to be here. And thank you for this opportunity. Global advances in PropTech, smart sustainable cities for dummies, referring to me, the dummy part. Anyway, those are the numbers that I was telling you about. These are some of the institutions that I used to work for about 20 years. My background is mostly finance and green buildings, PropTech, smart cities for now 11 years, and created this foundation called Reimagining Cities to work at that intersection. And then these are some of the global partners that we work with, mostly cities, smart cities organizations, some of the real estate organizations. And then I kind of added in FIABCI here because I saw this together. We map world urbanity, and it'd be great that you guys start to embrace the notion of smart cities, real estate. Well, you are real estate, but PropTech to create a better future, a more sustainable future toward carbon neutral cities.
And actually, Cha, before you go into the next slide, maybe if you go back to the previous slide.
Yeah.
You know, in my rush to get through the introduction at the very beginning, when I was talking about FIABCI, I skipped over some of the highlights. One thing that I would have, or perhaps in retrospect, I should have mentioned, is that you know, because of the the professionalism and the knowledge, you know, just the quality of our membership, you know, FIABCI is very privileged to have been granted consulting status with the United Nations. And we do actually work quite closely with UN Habitat to address
Up here, yeah.
sustainable building initiatives as well as housing affordability initiatives. So going forward, I certainly hope that smart cities plays a big role in both of those initiatives.
Wonderful. So this is where I said, bringing promises of optimization. So there's a lot of over promising and under delivering. I just want to be a little bit disruptive in our discussions. Digital transformation of real estate is definitely coming upon us, if not upon us already. And it applies to existing portfolios, new construction, and the notion of digital twins. This is the various 12 categories of PropTech. Venture Scanner is one of many organizations that are looking at this sector. This is an old slide, but you can see that $73 billion was invested in the PropTech space, and this is 2018, so it's much, much larger now. Oops, where is that? Okay. So we're about greener and smarter without over-investing, right? I have a financing background. We want to be greener and smarter. Greener meaning it's not about LEED or any green building certification. It's about profits. So, we like to focus on driving down energy. Energy is money. So we are going to increase profits by driving energy costs down. And by so doing, we are also reducing greenhouse gases in our built environment. Smarter is about the future of workplace strategies. Is how we look at it. And PropTech is the use of data and tech to help us get there. I love this guy. And where is he? Oops. Where did he go? Oh, so, Peter Drucker, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So we're all about, hey, let's get the data and start measuring exactly where we are and where we want to go to. One of the things that we like to focus on is what is your kilowatt hour per square meter per annum, or in the United States, what is your BTU per square foot per year? And this is about, most people look at this as an engineering term. I look at that as money. So kilowatt hour, what is your, how much energy are you using in your office buildings, your current office buildings, your malls, your hotels? And what should be your target energy usage or energy use intensity, some people call that, in, for your new construction as well as your existing portfolios. So when you look at kilowatt hours, let's assume that you save some electricity and you save $50,000 a year on a large office building, which is really not that much, considering some large office buildings can be spending $500,000, $1 million, or even more than that on one building. So just through operations, no big investment in CapEx, you could, dig in and get some savings of $50,000 per year on a building. This is small money, no one really cares. But if you looked at it on a portfolio of buildings and assuming 100 buildings, then I like to say, rather than savings, it's an increase in profits. So over a portfolio of 100 buildings, we're now increased our net operating income of $5 million a year. So what does that mean? Well, we've also just increased our asset value based on DCF valuation methodology. If you took that $5 million increase in NOI and you capped it at 5%, you just increased the value of your portfolio by $100 million. Now that kind of figure, that kind of money deserves the attention of CEOs and CFOs of large real estate portfolio owners. Ayala Land, they were one of the largest, if not the largest, real estate company in the Philippines, and we were having a workshop in Manila. And there, I was so surprised that they're going for carbon neutrality by 2022. It's not 2050, it's like day after tomorrow. And here they're, tracking their carbon. And this green part is, hey, we're going to supply it by green energy and buying carbon credits. And we were talking about, hey, it's not about just filling this big gray space with green and yellow, but we need to drive down the energy consumption of your buildings, even though your buildings portfolio is getting larger. So we had a lot of discussions around that. Going to new construction, you know, we're building up our cities. And it's not just the government that should be involved in smart cities, but the real estate developer, the real estate you know, community has so much of a role that they can play to address, you know, rapid urbanization. Every week, over 1 million people move into the cities, which is like an incredible amount of people. Some estimates say 3 million people move into cities every week. And this is kind of an interesting way of looking at things. 60% of the buildings that make up the cities by 2050 are not built yet. So that's why the importance of new buildings is all. Some data from the UN, 92 billion square meters is to be built by 2030. More than half of that is in Asia. So we have a problem, because if we keep building the way we're building, we're going to lock ourselves into the inefficiencies of today's building code. So time is of the essence. And this amount is building a London, the whole size of London every month. Take a look at, you know, this is Korea. This is only part of Korea. And it's building all of Seoul every 2 months until 2030. So there's a lot of construction, and we don't build it very well, right? They're energy hogs, inefficient, and very unhealthy. This is the man, Ed Mazria. He created Architecture 2030, and he is one of the people who are spearheading this road to carbon neutrality by 2030. And, you know, about rapid urbanization, you know, you guys were, some of you are in beautiful Seattle. I love that town. But we live like this, you know, it's overcrowded. It's like the living conditions really terrible for many people. You know, this is, you know, morning rush hour. It's incredible, the conditions that we work in. And to fuel all of that, you know, we don't look at these things, but these things exist in many places in the world. And now it's starting to spew back into our everyday lives. And we have to wear these masks, not only for coronavirus, but because of the pollution. This is really disgusting, and we have to live like this. Smart Cities Council, Code for Smart Communities, they're all about adopting technology, PropTech, to create better living. And this is a document that I would recommend you guys to read. It's only like 25 pages. And I love the way that smart cities, it's about community scale transformation is the most effective way to influence larger cities and regions. You know, it's not about, oh, smart city all of a sudden, but we have to work on districts to create pockets of positive change. So how do we do that? This is about, we have a project that we're consulting on in Toronto. Okay, that's the location, downtown Toronto to the right. Lakeview Village is the project that we're working on about new construction, and that's the airport. And it's really lovely because it used to be a coal-fired power plant, and the developers bought the land and they took this down, and they're now going to create a beautiful community there. And Fabio, he's the CEO, and he was quoted in the newspaper saying net zero energy for the whole community is something we'd like to strive for, but we'd like to see how the economics work out. And we're working with them to see those economics. You know, you got to measure it to be able to manage it, right? So it's a lot of retail, about $6 billion development, but they also have an innovation district, which is creating jobs. It's like working together with the residents to co-create the future of cities, right? So that's the intent. And so how do we do that? If this is, you know, we talk about the notion of digital twins, and it's the collection of data to see where we are on a lot of these elements. And then we keep on looking at how can we manage things? What are the better decisions that we need to make? And what we're doing is, hey, let's start with digital twins in how about these three areas: energy optimization, health and well-being, and space optimization would be the three areas that we would recommend for real estate developers. And one notion that we like to say is it's not about the solutions, but it's about this interoperable platform that we need to make that makes the digital twin. I think that's the end. Thank you very much. And that's the end.
No, it's fascinating. Yeah, and certainly something to look forward to in the future. Any improvement we can make to the quality of lives, the lives that people are living in terms of overcrowding and pollution, we certainly need to strive toward those goals.
Yeah, but not too extreme though. Somewhere in the middle.
Moderation is the key, I suppose. Yeah. So, and maybe last but certainly not least, Antony Slumbers. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your connection to PropTech.
Okay, I'm going to be very quick. I'm Antony Slumbers, and I've been doing PropTech from before PropTech even existed. So over the last about 25 years or so, I actually started the first commercial property website in the UK. Since then, I founded and exited 5 different software companies, all primarily relating to the office market in one way or another. Nowadays, well, certainly when I was allowed out, I used to do a lot of public speaking. I do a lot of writing, and I do quite a lot of advising of a range of players within the industry. I work quite a lot with investors, property managers, and developers. And overall, my thing is the impact. What impact will technology in the macro and the micro sense have on real estate assets? And then with this little sign behind me, this is a online, we call it the hashtag future-proof office course that I started with Draw Poleg, who some of you may well know, a couple of months ago. And this is, as I say, an online course focused on really explaining technology to real estate people and real estate to technology people. And it involves a deep dive into the changing dynamics of demand in the market and how that's going to impact supply. And that's me. If you want more about me, there's loads on antonyslumbers.com, and I tweet more than I should at Antony Slumbers as well.
Thank you very much, Antony. One quick note, we have a series of questions. We're going to have a panel discussion here. I apologize again, for the delay at the beginning. We might have to leave out a few of the questions, but if there's anyone in the audience has a specific question that they would like to put to the panel, by all means, please do so. I simply ask that you put it in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. If you would, just put it in the Q&A box. We'll try and keep an eye on it, and hopefully we'll have time to get to some of those before we're done. Maybe Antony, we'll start with you with the first question, if you don't mind. So, interest in PropTech has been growing for a number of years, but it seems to me that the global COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated that interest. So specifically, I'm noting how quickly many of us seem to have adapted to working remotely. And I'm wondering, how is this going to impact demand for office space over the coming years, as well as, what functions PropTech may serve in those changes? That's just one example that, I came up with. I'm sure there are many others, but, what is your take on how COVID-19 has impacted PropTech?
Clearly, you do the phrase of you should never make predictions, especially about the future. But I am pretty convinced that this is an absolutely pivotal point in global society. I think what we're going through at the moment is going to change a huge amount, and the longer it takes for anything to get back to any sort of normality, the more so this is going to happen. I mean, when this started, I thought maybe, 3 months, hunker down and be all right. But this looks like it's going to go on for a while. And probably the 2 biggest things is that it's going to, I think, absolutely catalyze the use of lots of technology in office buildings, most particularly around indoor air quality and environmental conditions. We've known about the importance of air quality, environmental conditions within office buildings for years and years and years. And we've known that they have an impact on cognitive function, but frankly, we've never paid that much attention to it. But now we have a situation where the air quality can actually kill you. So it rather changes the dynamics. So I think you're going to find that the number one thing an office building is going to have to do in the future is be able to demonstrate to its occupiers that it's safe, because people will not go into buildings unless they are safe, and people now have a much greater awareness of what constitutes safe. And I think that alone is going to dramatically change the way a lot of buildings work, because to make a building safe, we're going to have to invest in new technology, new hardware, new services, frankly, new everything. And we're going to have to invest in so many things that we've known we should have invested in 10 years, but over the last 10 years, we haven't had to, because we've been basically in a boom market, and pretty much a take it or leave it. I don't need to do anything. My building's going to rent anyway. Now it will not rent unless it's safe. And to enable it to be safe, you're going to have to invest to get through this downturn. Typically in a real estate downturn, you save all your money, you hunker down, you don't spend anything, and you try and save your way through it. The only way through where we are now is actually going to be investing in the future, in technologies that enable our buildings to be safe, sustainable, healthy, look after people's well-being. That alone is going to change the dynamics of the office market. But that now has to be married with that we have broken the Gordian knot between management and employees that has lasted for decades and decades, that I don't trust you unless I can see you. Therefore, you've got to come into this building every day. Otherwise, I don't think you're working. And look at this, globally, hundreds of millions of people have been working remotely, and clearly the economy is not like it used to be, but I'm actually quite staggered how much of the economy is working. I mean, look at this. This is all working. You think of the technology and what's going on in the infrastructure behind what we're doing now, and everyone responsible for this is at home. Now that is saying to you, this huge, big sign saying, office, do I actually need you? And I think the office market is about to catch up with the retail market, where 10 years ago, consumers realized they did not need to visit a shop to go shopping. And now they're realizing they do not need to go to an office to do work. Now, the point is the successful retailers, and the successful retailers of the future are retailers that are going to make us want to go to their shops, because it's more exciting than just asking Mr. Bezos to send it round by post. The same thing is going to apply in the office market, that nobody or very few people actually are going to need to go to an office. Now, it's not saying it doesn't have a lot of value. I personally think great offices have a huge amount of value, but notice the prefix, great offices. Offices that are centered around enabling me to be, and my people and my teams and my colleagues to be as productive as possible. Otherwise, why am I going there? And I think the whole way we use space is going to change. People are not going to be going to an office to, as I say, have a meeting with themselves all day and just go take 2 hours commuting to sit at a computer and tap away and then go home. They're going to go to offices to do human things, collaborative work with their teams. And landlords, apart from making their buildings very safe, are going to have to work out how they can create a user experience that makes it worthwhile people coming to the office. And that fundamentally changes the dynamics of the real estate industry. So I'm pretty certain that we're going to see a huge amount of change. I'm pretty certain we're going to see a lot of people losing vast amounts of money. And I'm pretty certain we're going to see a lot of people making vast amounts of money. What I think is very, very unlikely in the next few years is going to be people who just stay where they are. I think the next few years, you're going to be going down or you're going to be up, going up. It's going to be really difficult to stay where you are. So real estate is becoming intrinsically riskier. It's going to be more dependent upon the operator of space, and all in essence, it's becoming a service, whereas previously it was a product. And it's the industry is changing from A to Z, A to Z, call it what you will. So big change, I think.
So, Nikki, what about you? What's your take on how COVID-19 has impacted PropTech?
I mean, huge amounts, and this is what I talk about with people all day, every day. You know, as I mentioned with my introduction with this academy that I'm starting up, I've had the privilege of being able to speak to the real movers and shakers and thought leaders that are trying to address this problem. So, you know, what's happening at the moment is that, you know, let's just talk about commercial real estate and commercial office. Is you have this, you know, this situation for the tenants where you want to bring people back. But we need to question, like, first, like, why do people need to come into the office when we know that working from home works? So why do people come into the office? It's about collaboration. So if you want to bring people into the office, it needs to be purposeful, it needs to be meaningful, and it needs to be safe, productive, profitable, etc. The issue that we're having at the moment with the immediate return to work is that it's the air conditioning that is spreading COVID more than anything else. So as I said, in Manhattan, there's been a resistance to going back. Then of course we go over to the building side, and trying to bring people back to work is a whole different issue. So, you know, you want to think about how can you retain your tenants? How can you expand them? How can you create an environment that is, you know, safe and productive? And, you know, one of the very interesting conversations that I had with, you know, with a major landlord in the city is around temperature checks. And there are actually two schools of thought around it. You know, to me, it seemed intuitively quite logical that you'd want to do temperature checks. It's a good way of, you know, checking if people are okay or not. But the problem is that the temperature checks are unreliable. And if somebody is found to be, have a temperature that's out of range, then what do you do with them? Where do you put that person? How do you separate them from everybody else? And are you liable then, if you've had that person in your lobby that is then identifiable of having a temperature out of a certain range? So it gets interesting when you get into the minutiae of the return to work and the return to office. You know, that's why, you know, there's a lot of experts that are all addressing the same problem. And then the next question after that is, how can we make sure that whatever intervention we're implementing today is going to be long serving into the future? Because as we know, if you buy a certain computer, if you buy a certain plant, if you buy a certain chair, even if it's meant to be temporary, all of a sudden it becomes permanent. So what I like to encourage people to do is just to remember that the decisions that we're making today are actually going to impact us well into the future. And there's a positive side to this. You know, one of the statistics that I'm sure you've realized, I love my big statistics. It gives a bit of weight to the argument. One of the big statistics that I like to remind people of is that in 10 years' time, 75% of the workforce is going to be Generation Z and Millennial. 75% of the workforce. So what we're going to have to deal with in addressing this need is understanding that it's a workforce that is very tech savvy, tech first. It is about collaboration. It is a generation that can be digital nomads. So what we're seeing now with, you know, the future of work, raising these questions of, you know, can we have a hybrid workplace? Should, you know, what is the purpose of the office? Having these philosophical discussions for a company and actually building up the IT infrastructure to be able to support this flexibility is something that's positive, because what it means is that as an industry, commercial real estate is actually addressing these big issues ahead of schedule. Isn't that great?
Mm. What's the old expression? Necessity is the mother of invention. So yes, pushing everything forward. Yeah.
Yes. They taught us that at university. You know, VE. You know, that's why you VE everything.
Hey, money well spent right there.
Yep.
Your college, your university tuition. Yeah.
That's it.
So,
that's it.
Cha, maybe if you don't mind, we have a question here from the audience that I'd like to put to you. Maybe it might tie in with your the project that you mentioned earlier in Canada. So Tim Morgan, he's one of our members in FIABCI here in Seattle. He's also the economic development manager of Maple Valley. It's a city to the southeast of Seattle. You know, we partnered with Maple Valley last year to do a market tour, just to showcase some of the development opportunities there. So Tim is asking, so he hears that major capital investments in large development projects, you know, perhaps, you know, like the one that you referenced in Canada, are at least 2 to 3 years away due to COVID. So is this correct? And then what type of development projects will investors spend money on?
That's a hard one. Help me, Anthony and Nikki.
They want to know how to make money.
Well, you know, I don't know, just generally speaking, projects are moving a little slower. It depends on what kind of projects. The one in Toronto, we're supposed to go into first phase of construction end of 2021. We could start getting there. Well, not end of 2021. It was actually the end of this year or early 2021, but you know, it's probably going to slip a little bit and start construction sometime next year. Not the beginning of next year, but hopefully middle of next year. Some companies are actually looking at prefab, you know, doing a lot of the construction in factories and then reducing the amount of people that you need on the job site. Just read in Singapore, they're putting up 2 like almost 60-story towers that are prefabricated. That's interesting, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So you have
60
control
stories.
conditions in the factory. So you could try to make it safe with ventilation and social distancing, but you have a lot less people in the job site. And, you know, if you're on big job sites, there are a lot of people just, you know, working together very closely physically. So that could be one way of addressing those challenges.
Right.
Yeah, but we still have to build a London, the size of London every month, right?
So maybe just touch on that once more. I mean, is that continues until 2050? How far into the future is that predicted? 2030. Okay.
It was actually a document in 2016 called by the Global Alliance of Buildings and Construction. They come up with an annual report called the Global Status Report. And if you look at the numbers, it's quite alarming.
So essentially what that tells us is that even if we wanted to stop, we really can't. I mean, development has to continue in some fashion just to accommodate all the people who are moving to the cities. Yeah.
You know,
it does, but if it doesn't do it sustainably, then COVID is just a warm-up act. You know, COVID has proven to us that something can happen that affects the whole world at once.
Yeah.
I mean, even going back to the world wars, they weren't really affecting the whole world simultaneously. This is something that has basically shut down the whole world, and this is absolutely a warm-up act. In fact, someone even described COVID actually as the vaccine, which I thought was a really interesting way of putting it. It said, this is like a huge warning to explain what could happen if we don't look after sustainability and what could happen with climate change. So this is our inoculation to start taking this stuff seriously. Now, if you've got this real problem that, yes, we do have to keep building more and more stuff, but frankly, the most sustainable building is the one that doesn't get built. We all know, you know, building, however sustainably we build buildings at the moment, they are a carbon nightmare. And if we're going to build on this sort of scale without really taking paying a lot of attention to how we build, then we've got an intrinsic problem. So the positive way of looking at all this, the need to carry on construction when you can't use people, is we shouldn't be using people to do construction anyway. Construction should be prefabricated. It should be a factory thing. It should be a precision engineering situation, because we can build faster, better, cheaper, more sustainably, more efficient buildings if we can build up the scale of demand to support a supply chain of modular construction and all this sort of thing. All of this is telling us we have to start using the toolkit that is at our disposal that we've just been playing around with over the last 10 years. So many of the problems within real estate are known knowns. We do know an awful lot how to do an awful lot better. And if there's any way we're going to build the amount of construction we need to enable the whole world to have a good life, we're gonna have to think about the situation now as a huge, partly a wake-up call, but also an opportunity to say, no, the way we used to do things is not good enough. 30% of carbon emissions in the real estate industry, 40% of global energy. We have got to change all this. And this opportunity is an opportunity of necessity that in many ways we have no choice. Going back to what I was saying about improving air quality in buildings, frankly, people do not realize how awful the air quality is in so many buildings. And this is making us realize it is there, and we know how to fix it, and we just have to do it, because it really is a case of, well, if we don't do it, no one's going to buy our product anyway. So yes, we do need to keep constructing, but if we don't build sustainably and safe, actually no one will want it, or they might want it, but they're not going to pay us a lot of money for it. And there's going to be a big differentiation between the good stuff, the sustainable, flexible space that is human-centric and looks after people's health and well-being, and the rest. And the focus has to be on how do we build better, more sustainably, more flexibly, more human-centrically, and really concentrate on people's health and well-being.
Here. I want to applaud that one. I want to give him a here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You know, Antony,
was that the sound of you pounding your fist on the table as you were saying those things? That is really, I totally agree.
Actually, it was me clapping, tapping my hands.
I was just going to note the same thing.
Banging.
You really hear the passion in your voice, Antony. Yeah, actually, you know, we're at the top of the hour. If I can impose on the three of you, maybe just to stay with us another 10 minutes to sort of make up for the mishap at the beginning of the webinar, to make sure everyone gets their money's worth, so to speak, a full 60 minutes of insight from you. I'd really appreciate it. Maybe we just have each of you touch on maybe just one more question. One other thing, and maybe we'll just keep it on office properties. You know, tell us about, you know, the concepts of space as a resource or space as a service. Right? You know, in short, what do these concepts mean, and what role is PropTech going to be playing in advancing these concepts going forward? And maybe Nikki, if you don't mind, we'll start with you.
Absolutely. This is something that I was actually speaking about right at the start of the lockdowns. And you know, let's just face it, I live the digital nomad life. I didn't own any furniture until the lockdown started because I didn't have a need for it. And a lot of millennials live in a very similar way. And, you know, we were laughed at a little bit because we're known as a generation that, you know, values experiences over things. But, you know, all we need is our laptop. Or, you know, if you have a laptop and some power and some Wi-Fi, you can be anywhere. And this is where the world is heading. You know, we know now that we can work very productively, comfortably, and happily remotely. So, you know, that kind of begs the question about, if we do have these wonderful offices, are they a must or are they a privilege? And if they are a privilege, then how do you start factoring it into, you know, your the way that you package your, you know, your salary and the benefits around it? And actually, and I should have seen who the company was, but there was an article today that referenced exactly that. One of the tech companies was finding that their employees were, you know, not actually wanting to come back to the office. They're like, okay, well, what else can we, you know, what else can we give them to create the same kind of experience? So at the end of the day, we all want flexibility. We all want to be able to, you know, have control over the things that we care about. You know, for some people it will be that, yes, I want to have a corner office. For somebody else it will be that I only want to work 4 days a week. At the end of the day, it should be outcome measured. It should be production measured. Do you get your work done? Do you do it well? Do you do it productively? What happens in the background if you're working at midnight or 3 in the morning? That shouldn't matter. That should not matter at all. So it really is a questioning around, okay, well, you know, what is the purpose of space? What is the nature of space? And how do we quantify it? How do you quantify it? You can put a dollar sign to it, and you can also look at the production and the outcomes. And, you know, there's some very interesting research that's been done around it, around the quantifying of work. You know, Kate Lister, you know, who's also going to be one of our speakers. I had a call with her yesterday. She's actually going to be testifying in front of Congress around telecommuting. And, you know, she was saying to me, she's like, well, I've been talking about this for the past 15 years and all of a sudden it's become topical. Because the thing is, you can measure output. You don't have to measure output by the number of hours that somebody sits in front of their computer screen. Why is arriving at 9 a.m. in your suit and tie in the middle of summer and leaving at 5 on the dot with a half-hour break in between? You know, why is that seen as productivity? Because it's not. You know, we have the technology around us. We have the tools around us. We have a lot of very innovative people, thought leaders, and creatives thinking about the issue of, you know, of output. And the reality is, if you think about it, so many of the startups start in a garage, not because it's not because it's the most productive space, but because the people working there had the flexibility to use the space and created their own. So that's what the future is, I believe, of, you know, of commercial space. It's about being able to give people the tools that they need to be able to do the best job wherever it is. And thinking about, if you do have a traditional office, what is its purpose? And it should be a place for collaboration, cooperation, and just really wanting to be there. So that's where we're heading.
And maybe Antony, you know, I've read on your blog similar comments, I think, to what Nikki is you know, mentioning here about traditional offices. Essentially, they're just an open floor plan with one cubicle after the other. That pretty, you know, in the not too distant future, that's going to be a thing in the past. I mean, that's just going to go away. And, you know, people are only going to go to the office if they want to collaborate with each other. And they're going to need amenities that facilitate that. And there was something that, well, maybe I'll just let you take over from there. But
you definitely want to hear real estate as a service from Antony. He is like,
I think this is I think actually underneath all this, there's something much more profound going on. That the issue here, so you think of it, the old school office, or desk lined up in a row. Essentially, the office used to be like a spreadsheet. You had all these desks lined up in a row as if they're the cells in the spreadsheet, and on each desk, someone would be doing something structured, repeatable, predictable. So like little formulas in a cell in a spreadsheet. That's what an office used to be. You've got to take into account that all this work that is structured, repeatable, or predictable is going. The machines are going to do this. The whole thing about artificial intelligence and advanced technologies, it is not Terminator, but it is a big deal. The new technologies will take away the tasks that we do that can be defined as something predictable, structured, or repeatable. So all that work is going to go anyway. So a vast amount of the tasks that people are paid for in the world to do today are going to go. So what are humans going to do? Well, humans are going to have to do what the machines don't do. And fortunately for us at the moment, machines are not good at what humans are really good at. So humans are really good at design and imagination and empathy and abstract and critical thinking and judgment and all these sorts of things. That's what we will be paid to do in the next decade or so. That's what successful humans will do. There will obviously be lots of people being paid to do technical stuff, but frankly, the technology industry employs very few people. You tot up the total number of employees of Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and it's less than General Motors was 30 years ago. So most people are going to be doing human work. And because we're doing human work, so we're designing products, we're designing services, and we're refining them. We're understanding customer needs. We're creating new products and services. How do we best do that? Well, we best do that in spaces that are designed to catalyze these human skills. And the fundamental concept of space as a service is partly it's about procuring space on demand, anything other than signing long leases. But much more importantly, it is what it says on the tin. It's spaces that provide you with the services you need to do the job to be done that you have to do at that time. So if we're thinking about what's the value of commercial space, it will be in providing spaces that are better than anywhere else to go and do the human things we need to do with our colleagues, better than anyone else. So the fundamental nature of space is going to change because the function is different. The function is there to enable people to be as effective and productive as possible. And what that will mean in the future is more and more human skills. So again, the dynamic completely changes. And I was just noticing that one question here talking about more seasoned workers hesitation return to the office. There was a question here about, will this mean people will spread out more and be more remote? There's still the issue, if we can work at home, that very few people want to do this all the time, and it doesn't suit many people or many companies to do it all the time. But if you think that if I could go to an office 2 days a week to spend really high quality time with my team, that has massive utility. And if I could do that 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week, start thinking how that changes the geography of where I might be able to live, or where might be the best place to locate the office. And when you're thinking in this hybrid mode of people not working in either in the office or out of the office, they're doing some in the office, some out of the office, some at home, some in a hotel, some in a co-working place, some in a flex office, some in lots of different places. We need to, as real estate people, become much more flexible and imaginative in trying to understand the total occupational needs of our customers. And we might end up saying, right, well, I will lease you a building there, and then I will provide you with this space locally, and then I will provide you with a certain number of hours at a special rate with this flex operator. And that again is a service. It's a real estate company saying, I am going to service your complete needs, because frankly, you do not want an office. What you want is a productive workforce. So I am no longer in the business of selling you or renting you an office. I am going to be a provider. I am going to enable you to have a productive workforce. And this is how I'm going to do it. And that's a much more exciting game to be in. And some people are going to be really, really good at it.
Well, it certainly sounds like work lives will become a lot more fulfilling for a lot of people.
Yes, it's the downside, of course, of this is you have to be careful. This is slightly a privilege thing. This does apply to the occupiers of Manhattan or central London.
Right.
How this pans out across a whole economy, I don't know, but it'll be variations on a theme.
So perhaps one last question, and let's sort of do it in a light and round fashion. Just keep the answers short and sweet, I suppose, as we go through this last question. But maybe start with you, Cha, just to sort of tie it in to a global perspective. Especially given that you work with a lot of different developers around the world. Mentioning your Canada project earlier in the webinar, but so are you actually seeing differences around the world in how PropTech is being received and adopted? And maybe just more to the point, if our attendees are interested in business opportunities related to PropTech, what countries should they be focusing their attention on? Or is there, or is there even really, a specific country here?
Yeah, it's not, I don't think it's related to any specific country, but if we're talking geographic regions, I think Asia is more apt to adopt technologies like facial recognition, and that may impose upon data privacy. But here we like the idea of command and control. China, Singapore, Korea, we want that data. We want these like screens all over the wall, and we're gonna, and as opposed to saying the United States, hey, you're invading my privacy, you can't do that, right? So that's one. I think in terms of what do you see in the world, I look at the large real estate companies, and they're usually, well, some of the leaders are hiring CIOs, chief information officers or technology officers. And Lend-Lease is one where they have about $100 billion worth of new construction in their pipeline. And they hired this guy, Bill Rue, as Lend-Lease digital CEO. So he's a tech guy, and he's like looking at what kind of technologies should Lend-Lease as a developer and owner of real estate adopt through the whole value chain. Design, construction, design, build, and operate. So those things are very exciting to see.
So, Nikki, what about you?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any, any special observations about, which countries seem to be have the greatest opportunities going forward?
Yeah, I'll second Shaz's observations. I apologize, my camera's disappeared, but I am still here. Asia definitely has the brains, talent, and aptitude for an appetite for tech adoption. I'd be looking there. I actually started my career at Lend-Lease in Australia in master planning. And one of the reasons why they are so strong in digital twins and tech adoption now is that they are a tier 1 developer that is always looking to be best in class. And when I was with them, their focus was on sustainability, and always having somebody on the team at every meeting with a focus there. So now that they've turned their focus to tech, they're going to continue to be best in class. So that would be the second typology. The third being leapfrog. So for example, in Africa, where there's a lack of infrastructure, technology can fix a lot of these issues. I'd be looking to these emerging markets to see where PropTech can come in, because you're coming in with a clean slate. Keeping in mind you don't necessarily have reliable procurement or things like power. If you want to get an overview of the PropTech investment map, UNISU, UNISSU, has some great resources around the different investments that have been made. And essentially, in broad brushstrokes, 75% of the investments are in the US. 25% are in China. These are the two big markets. There's a lot happening in the UK. Germany is emerging as a huge tech, a huge place for tech, as well as the city of Paris. They're making big investments there. So check out UNISU. They've got great resources and can fill in some of the blanks. But yeah, real sharp, Asia will always be first.
Can I just say, I think,
please.
Whilst I agree with that, I think you should be looking for companies that have the right attitude and have the right mindset. It's interesting to Lend-Lease came up. Lend-Lease is an incredibly innovative company. The old, elephants can't dance. Huge companies can't be innovative. Well, Lend-Lease is one of those examples that tells you that they can. But certainly, in all the conversations I've had with people, it's not really a geographic thing of are people more innovative in this country than another. I genuinely find it comes down to individual companies who are led by leaderships that are looking to the future to create better products, differentiated products, who are innovative at their core. Hunt them out. It's in PropTech. One of the best tips in PropTech is for startups is not to waste your time on companies that aren't interested. And there are an awful lot of real estate companies that don't get it, have no interest in innovation for whatever structural reason. It doesn't matter to them. Do not try and convert them. You're wasting your time. You have to target the people. You have to target your tribe. Find someone. Find the companies that are most amenable to what you have to offer, and then try and get into bed with them. So look for mindset, attitude, and if you can combine that with scale and money and ability to actually do stuff, more the better. But attitude and mindset comes first.
Actually, I think that probably applies to most things in life, not just
PropTech. It does.
Hey, Anthony, the things that you say are so, forward thinking. I love everything that you say, but you just ruined something for me, like that the elephant dancing, you can't, and Lend-Lease. So every time someone mentions Lend-Lease, I'm going to see this big elephant with a ballerina dress on dancing, right? So.
see a giant dancing kangaroo, maybe.
Well, actually, Charlie,
Yeah,
you probably know about it. Lend-Lease haven't they just announced some new platform, which is a complete, basically a digital
twin. Yeah.
It's really
And it's they hired this guy Bill Rue from, I think he was with GE, or anyway, he's a tech, and he became the CEO of Lend-Lease Digital. And he's out there speaking and inspiring others. Hopefully he will help inspire some of the other people who are sitting on the fence and become some of the leaders that you were just talking about. Because I agree with you, trying to convince people who just don't get it about PropTech, oh my goodness, wasting time. Let's work with the people who understand it and then create that positive change, and then all the others will follow or disappear. One or the other.
Critical mass, eventually reach critical mass. And well, with that, I would just like to thank you, all three of you, for participating in this webinar. We really were thrilled to get, subject matter experts, of your caliber, or as we said in our promotional material, industry influencers. It's really been a fantastic conversation. And again, to everyone, all of the panelists, as well as all of the attendees. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but we got through them, and it was a fantastic conversation.
It was all Evan's. It was all Evan's fault for the technical difficulties.
In fact, I'm sure it was. I'll try and sort out exactly what happened.
Blame the technology. Blame the technology. But yes, thank you, Evan, for organizing it. And listen, everyone that's on this call. Do connect with all of us on social media, on Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. We're always pushing out original content. So, come and join us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep. And and actually we'll follow up with an email to everyone who registered for the event, just to give them contact information, to your websites and social media accounts and things like that. So they can get in touch with you, make those connections. Thanks again.
Fantastic.
I really appreciate everything. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.